This week's main project is to install a separate starting battery, because if I want to be at anchor, I need to make sure that if I use my electricity on my boat that I won't run low on my starting battery, so I can start my engine anytime I want to. So that is kind of a big project because first of all you have to find a space where to put that battery. Once you found the space, you have to build like something where you can actually mount it on. And once I did that, you need to rewire all the cables from the alternator to the battery. And also I wanted to install an isolator, so I can separate my house batteries from my starting battery. Pierik works for the marina as an electrician, and he'd been given a couple of old batteries from some other boat, and so he's given me a starting battery for free, so that's really cool. And also he had some wood left over, so I could build like a little podest for the battery. Well, I definitely learned a lot in this process again. I had to drill some new holes into the aluminium to mount the podest, which was you know I don't like doing that, but still now it's mounted. I learned how to solder the cable shoes on a cable, so that was new. That was good. Well, it took longer than I thought again, but in the end we finished one day at night, and so we cranked up the engine just to charge up the battery a little bit and to see if everything is running fine. Well, the alternator wasn't charging, so it took me like 2 hours to find out in the internet that there's 2 exceptions with Bosch and Ford alternators if you install an isolator. I do have a Bosch alternator, so you have to install like an extra sensor for the regulator of the alternator that senses the voltage of the battery. If you don't mount that one, the alternator just wouldn't charge. Well, great, but I did find it out, and I was pretty happy to find that out. But then I ran the engine for about half an hour, to charge the battery, and then after half an hour, I was wondering like, it's kind of weird. It's a kind of weird smell. Something is going on. So I looked downstairs into the engine room, and there's quite a bit of smoke. So I ran to the engine switched the engine off. Then I went into the engine room to see what was going on, and I saw that the tap of the cooling water had come off. The engine overheated, and it's not good. Put some new heating liquid in, put the tap back on, started again. There was no water coming out, so I had to go and look for the reasons why there's no water coming. Well, you usually start from outside to the inside on engines, because it's just easier to start on the outside, so you do the easy stuff first. So I checked the through hole if there's water coming into the intake. There was water coming in, so from there I moved forward to the water pump and disconnected the hose that comes out of the water pump and cranked the engine, but no water. That means dismounting the water pump, opening it up, which was pretty tough because the the screws were pretty bad, so I had to use like some vice grips, but in the end it worked. And yeah, the impeller was completely torn apart, and because that was the case, I also had to dismount everything that comes after the water pump, the heat exchanger and all the hoses, because all the little bits and pieces of the broken impeller would be stuck in the system, and you really don't want that because they're just going to block everything. So I had to take everything apart and wash it and, you know, clean it and take the impeller bits out and then put it all back together. When I had put back in the new impeller and I was just about to close off the water pump again, guess what? I broke one of the screws and it got stuck in the water pump. Damn it! So I had to drill it out. Oh, you know, I'm getting pretty good at drilling broken bolts out of stuff, but still, I mean, it was a tiny one, and it was, the metal was really soft, so it was a little bit scary, but it did work. But I mean, you know, I have the feeling everything I touch, it just breaks, and it just causes more work, and yeah, it's just ridiculous. Well, I did get the screw out in the end, and I put the water pump back on and started the engine, and there was water coming, so I was really happy, but pretty, well, a little bit tired. Another thing that had to be done, what I found out during the trial run, is that the little roller where the anchor chain rolls over when you put it down or when you lift it up, was always getting stuck between the aluminium. So I dismounted the anchor roller, and I also found out that it was getting pretty thin. So I went into town to find another one, a new one, and actually I did find exactly the same size. So that was pretty awesome. Well, then I had to take away a little bit of the aluminium where the anchor roller was getting stuck, and once I did that, I could just put it back together and mount it, and that was done. It was an easy job in comparison to some other things. And also it was important to the place where the end of the chain was mounted inside of the anchor box. It was pretty rotten, so I decided to drill a new hole and put a new shackle in, which I isolated from the aluminium so it wouldn't corrode. Because it's a pretty important thing. If your anchor, you know, runs out, it's important that you have a good tight connection to your boat, so you don't lose your whole chain in your anchor. Well, and then there's like little things that hold you up. I was just about to do a big dish cleaning job, and all of a sudden I realized that there's no water coming through the water pump, so I had to dismount the fresh water pump and see what, like, one of the hoses had come off. But not only that, there's like a little piece of metal where the thingy that you pump with it had come off, so you couldn't pump any water. So that took like half a day, because it's just like in silly places you can't reach anything, and you know, it's just stuff on boat just always takes much longer than you would ever imagine. That's something I definitely have learned in the past months. Well, because of all of this, this week has already passed, and there's still a couple of things on the list that have to be done. So I think there's one more week to go, but more about that next week. Bye.